Okay, so short notice episode. I recorded an episode for last week, but the audio is like awful, and I'm still trying to work with that, and so I need to get an episode out this week. So this will come out tomorrow or Tuesday, which you will know because it will be out. But yeah, I figure what a better topic to talk about for this episode than the recent shooting that has happened in, I think it's called Brooklyn Park here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, of Daunte Wright. It should have made national news, but just in case you haven't heard about it, Daunte Wright was 20 years old. He was shot near where George Floyd was killed, if I got my information correct. Or not where he was killed, excuse me, where the trial is happening, where Derek Chauvin's trial is happening. He was in the car with his girlfriend at the time, got pulled over for apparently, according to his mom, it was for having something around his rearview mirror, which is like, I didn't know they could pull you over for that, but okay. And according to the police, it was for missing license plate, even though, or missing registration, but either way, apparently he had both, so I don't know what that issue was. But, yeah, they had him out of the car, he got back in the car, that's when the officer shot him. Apparently the officer meant to tase him. I do not understand, when your life isn't threatened, how you could make the mistake of grabbing a pistol instead of a taser, considering the weight difference between the two. And that you should have been trained to know which side your pistol's on and which side your taser is on. But, you know, I'll get back there. But, yeah. That, like, I don't know, I saw the news, and the first thought that came to my mind was, I feel really bad for this kid. Not for Daunte Wright, but for his child. Yeah, that's the first thing that came to my head. I was sitting there thinking, like, man, this is going to be another black child without a black father, and that's going to, like, contribute to that statistic. And it's not even the dad's fault for him, like, not being able to be in his child's life. You know, he was killed. And he was young. And just, like, thinking that, you know, that's going to be the story. If this kid lives a full life as they're growing up, they're just going to get to hear about, oh, yeah, no, your dad was shot by the cops when he was 20. That's why you don't have a dad. Oh, like, come on, man. I don't know anyone's been in that situation, but you just have to imagine, right? It's already, if you don't have a parent in your life, I'm sure you already know how difficult that is. But then to be told your parent isn't in your life because they were shot, you know, they weren't involved with criminal activity, they weren't involved with drugs. They're just out and about one day and they just got shot. Come on. Like, I don't know how a kid's gonna, like, cope with that. That's traumatizing. And the kid's not even old enough to know the trauma yet. So it's just gonna come and hit like a truck. When, you know, he or she gets old enough to ask, hey, where's dad? And the mom has to try to explain that. Ugh. Terrible. But, yes, so yeah, that's where my thoughts went first. I did not, and say what you want about me, but, there was no outrage. There was no surprise. There was no sadness, no pain. I was just like, oh, look, it happened again. I've come to expect this from America at this point, so it's not even surprising. Like, you see the same process on social media. Unarmed person gets shot, people outrage, especially if they're black. People get outraged about it. People repost, people tweet, people post on Facebook. You get the Justice for hashtag. Whether or not the person will get justice is up in arms. Like, you don't know. People get mad, protests get organized. The National Guard gets called out at this point because every time a cop kills somebody, the government instantly knows, like, oh, okay, yep, this is happening again. Yeah, let's be real, people. We've been doing this since, at least consistently now, since 2019. Like, there has been outrage over a shooting, I'd argue, every month since, like, mid into the pandemic in 2019. Like, it's just, guy gets shot, you know? Crimes against this minority, crimes against that minority. And then, like, And then the comments, oh, this wasn't racism. What about this white guy that got shot? And it's like, yeah, we're mad about that too, you know? Why are cops shooting these people? And then we need police reform. And then everyone's like, no, it's not the cops' fault. You would have just listened. And so then they fire the officer and they hire a new officer, and then we just repeat the same thing over and over and over and over again. I honestly don't have the energy to be outraged about it. Apologies if that offends you. I don't care. I am not apologizing for me. I'm apologizing for you for having the energy to be offended by it. That must suck. But nah, I mean, I do wish the best for him and his family. I am thankful to see that like people are helping this now single mother out by like donating things to her. We need to do that more in general. Outside of someone getting shot, like if there's a single mom in a precarious situation, there needs to be more support for that, or a single dad. But I am glad to see that like people are going out of their way to help. I will do so if I get the opportunity, if I can find somewhere to, you know, help her get some diapers or something like that, just because I don't know who has the job in that family as well. So was he the one working? Were they both working? Right? Did they need two salaries? Is she not working, which leaves the kid in a very awful situation? Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm really just more concerned for the kid. I'm really concerned for this kid. Terrible way to have to grow up. But I was gonna record about, you know, something related to this earlier, but I think it was last week. I went to the George Floyd Memorial on the street that, you know, he was murdered, and the little roundabout they have set up. And that was, I must say, like, that was probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Not in a sense that like it's literally beautiful, although some of the, you know, the memorials and the artwork and the installations out there were just like, it was great, but it was more just the idea as well. Like when I was out there, I saw people in the community actively cleaning it up, right? I was told by someone I was with that people are out every day making sure that space stays clean, adding to it, you know, making sure nothing gets destroyed. Like, it was just, there's just so much peace there. People were talking to each other. People were mourning. People were crying. They were setting up a church service because I think this was Easter Sunday. Yeah, it was Easter Sunday out there as well. And it was just, I mean, it was a great thing to see. Just the whole community, like people just coming in to add to it or to pay their respects or to take care of the area. Like being in that area, ironically, was the safest I felt since being in Minnesota. Just like, and safe in all senses. Like I felt safe for my well-being, but like just like my spirit just felt really at peace. Like nothing bad could happen in that area, which like is super ironic. But like I do want to say, if you haven't been, I don't know the address, but you should go and spend some time there. It's surreal to say the least. It sucks that places like that have to even exist, but it's good that it does. And like, it's really good to see that, you know, police aren't being sent into that area and they're not trying to take it down and destroy it. I will say I had a lot of thoughts while I was there. One of them being like the area was super peaceful to me. It was super safe to me and it was super beautiful to me, and it was being taken care of, but it was created as a result of destruction. And you know, one of the thoughts I had there was there's like, because I saw one of the buildings like boarded up. I was like, I wonder if some guy lost his business so that this could exist. And like that brings up I don't know, for me that brought up like a really interesting question, which is like, is there a greater good of this memorial being out there over the businesses lost? Was it worth the businesses of individuals and the property of individuals being lost for the creation of this memorial space, right? Like, I don't know, like how a fire burns down a forest and then over time something better grows, you know? But in this case, the fire wasn't natural. The fire was started intentionally. And so, you know, everything there had to get destroyed as a consequence for something else to be put up. So yeah, that made me think. But Regardless, that is just a really like beautiful thing to see. It's I don't know, like with all of these killings of people outside of organized crime, just like innocent people, right? At the moment of the killing, like innocent people getting their lives lost and everything like that. You know, the first thing you hear people talking about is like, which again, nothing ever changes, but is just like, what did they do? What did they do in their past? Who were they? Man, I just get so many thoughts when I get into this topic. You know, like what's something that's really ironic to me now I think about it is when the cancel culture mob goes after someone who maybe a decade ago in their past may have said something racist or homophobic seeming, because, you know, depending on who you are, it's not always the case, or something offensive, right? And the cancel culture mob goes after something from ages ago. You hear people say, especially the people who will victim blame the people who were shot by cops, but in general, right? But you'll hear people say, that was in the past, you know, this person can grow. They're not the same human being that they were. Why are you going this far back into their past to like try to end their lives now, right? But then the irony of that is, if a person at the time of their arrest and at the time of their being shot, if they weren't arrested or detained, gets killed, the first thing that same group of people wants to do is go, well, what did they do in their past, right? Did they commit any crimes? Were they a bad person? Which is, in a sense, the same as canceling them, or at least justifying them being canceled, except in this case, the cancellation is loss of life. It's trying to justify that, right? And so it's really ironic, right? Like, if you are one to go look out at someone's past as a way to justify them being killed for something they didn't do in the present, you're just as bad as the people who are responsible for cancel culture, canceling someone who did something in their past when it's not reflective of who they are in the present. You know, it's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. Except one is way more severe than the other. Because one, there are no do-overs. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't get how people, it's crazy to me how people don't recognize parallels, and because of that, they're unable to recognize their own hypocrisy. And then when you call them out on the hypocrisy, they try to like play it off as it's different. But like, in all senses, it isn't different. It's the same thing. So, I don't know. That just gave me a thought. Like, the other day, I was on Instagram, and I think Bleacher Report posted that this guy was in jail for 26 years. He was out. He's at a Golden State game. Steph Curry like left the mic to him at the end of the game to like do an interview or something. And some comments were like, I didn't know that we celebrated criminals now, but the dude had served 26 years, right? And I was thinking to myself, the purpose of jail, right, is as a concept, right, when it was created way back in the day, was as reconciliation for a crime you committed. And once you get your form of reconciliation, or once you pay your time, essentially, you pay your dues, you let back out into public, right? That's the whole point. So by him serving his 26 years, he took his punishment, he reconciled for his actions. Is he not allowed then to be a member of society? Because I feel like that's how people treat it. Back in Massachusetts, they used to do, I think in the 1800s, they did public shaming as a way for people to reconcile for their crimes, right? So, but, over time, they found that to be very inhumane, some of the things they used to do to publicly shame people. But essentially, right, you get your public shaming. It's not only meant to deter you from doing the crime again, but it's so that people can go, okay, he's gotten his punishment for what he has done. We can now re-enter him into society, right? Now that's just prison. That's right. Jail serves the purpose that a public shaming would serve. So the whole point is when they finish, because 26 years is a quarter of someone's, it's not even a quarter, it's like a third of somebody's life. At least as far as life expectancy goes in the United States. It's a third of his life he spent behind bars. Is he not allowed to re-enter society? Are people like, you go to jail, and especially after 26 years, you're both literally, like scientifically, and